Careers in Film panel. So before we get started, I want to thank all of you. Where are my film campers who are here? All of you are the next generation of filmmakers here in the Tampa Bay area, and I hope that you take something away today from the current generation of filmmakers here in Tampa. And I also want to thank women in film and television. Despite the name, they are not all women, as you can see from the panel here. And a very special thank you to Art Smith Jr., who is sitting right here next to me in the orange. Art reached out to us about a month ago and said, hey, we want to help. We know about your film camp. What can we do? And that's where this whole idea was born over the span of a very entertaining Zoom call. So Art is the one whose brain power and Rolodex, kids ask your parents what a Rolodex is, put this whole panel together and are going to be illuminating all of us today. So I'm going to turn it over to Art and the panel to take it away. Thank you so much.
What we want to do today is we want to allow you to ask us questions. We have a lot of professionals that are up here that have all different types of careers. You know, there's more than acting, okay? There's the people that are behind the scenes. So we have them up here. So think about questions that you would like to find out from us, because that's more important than for me telling you a story of my life, which would take 3.5 days. Okay, I am the Secretary of Women in Film. I worked on feature films, and I moved from New Jersey, where I was a high school teacher that had a TV and film program way back when it was black and white. So that's how old I am. I am the Secretary of WIFT. And now I'm going to pass on, and we're going to go down the line, and you're going to find out who we all are.
Hi, I'm Monique McLaughlin. I'm a makeup and hair artist, and I also started just producing as well.
Hey everybody, I'm Quinn Chittenden, and I'm the Film Commission Manager for St. Pete Clearwater.
Hi everyone, I'm Tracy Reynolds, and I'm an actress, and a writer, and a producer.
Hi, I'm Melissa McNerney. I'm a producer and an actor.
Hi, I'm Cherie Johnson, CEO of Image Masters International Inc., or IMI Inc., and it's a production company.
I'm Tom Reynolds, Film Commissioner for Hillsborough County, and in a previous life, I was a line producer and a production manager.
David Syracusa. I am a producer, writer, director, but I'm really here today as the owner and founder of K75 Stunt Academy.
So you have some really good people up here, and I want to know who's got questions for us. Don't be afraid. Now is your chance. Yes? I think all of us can answer that. I will start out that my career started as an actor. I was in a middle school back then, or junior high, and I was failing because I was the funny guy in class. And my teacher, Mr. Paige, took me to see my first Broadway show in New York City. And then after he said, Art, let's go backstage and meet the cast, the crew. And then the stage manager said, I hear you're coming Saturday for an audition. I auditioned, and from that, I got a part in It's a Wonderful Life. And then I was in West Side Story, Bye Bye Birdie, South Pacific, King and I, on Broadway. And that's all because I was a funny guy in class that he was going to fail.
So I was a theater kid. I did a lot of musical theater, dance, drama in high school, and always dabbled in makeup and hair, and my friends actually let me do their makeup and hair, and it just kind of blossomed from there. When I graduated, I actually went and pursued a career in sales and marketing, and I didn't switch to do makeup and hair for production work until 2005. So I was pretty late to the game, but glad that I switched because the business background helped me take the makeup and hair seriously, and that's how I'm able to still be in this profession for so many years.
Yeah, so I started doing film camps just like this. So I was about 12 years old when I first started doing these high school summer camps. And basically, this was over in St. Pete. through the Sunscreen Film Festival. And so it was a great opportunity to learn from professionals who are local in this industry, and then just to go out and to make a film and to learn a lot along the way. You learn everything from how to set the white balance to, how to make sure that you're capturing good audio. And so I did that for a number of years before I graduated high school, and then I went out to film school. Ended up working on a bunch of sets through that, and that led into job location scouting. And while I was location scouting, I was also doing this sales job. And so the two of them paired together very nicely, for the film commission, which is essentially doing sales and location. So that's kind of how I ended up in the film commission. But really, it just started with these types of film camps.
I also started acting because probably my first thing was when I was in middle school, in 6th grade. But prior to that, I fell in love with Andrea McCardle. Does anyone know who that is? She was Annie. You guys all know Annie. But so I'm a kid, and I just fell in love with her. I couldn't believe that she was getting paid to sing and dance and become this other character. And so I just decided that is exactly what I wanted to do with my life. Now, I also was a writer. How many of you are writers? Write stories? Write and write and write and write and read, because that's how you become a true storyteller. And if you do want to be an actor, then being able to put yourself into the story but understand how stories work will make you so much better than someone who's just trying to put on a face of a character. You have to understand story. And so I continued to work as an actor in New York. I went up there for my training. I was a stage actor all the way. I only did a couple of things on camera in my 20s, like some extra work and some under fives. Raise your hand if you know what the under five means. Yes, you have under 5 lines in the film, so you get an under 5 credit. But I just thought, I'm just gonna do stage. It wasn't until really just recently that I decided to go for on-camera work, and I love it. I booked a true crime drama like about 6 years ago, and I didn't have just an extra role, I actually had a lead role, and that was the first time that I was able to work and see how awesome the crew is. The crew is everything. The director, the assistant director, hair and makeup, the PA that comes and meets you and takes you and shows you where you need to be. Every single person on a good set knows exactly what they need to do, and they're really good at doing it, and it allows you as an actor to do your thing and to be taken care of. Stunt coordinators, just it's so exciting to work with everyone on a film or a television set. And now I kind of don't do as much stage as I used to. I've kind of fallen in love with the on-camera life, and yeah, let's just hope it keeps going, because I love it. And you can be any age and be an actor, wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Any age. You can get into it at any age. So yes, young and old alike, there is a place for you in film and television.
I got my start as an actor doing theater as a kid, and then in high school I went to Dr. Phillips High School in Orlando, so that had a really well-known theater magnet program, and that really laid the foundation for where I am now, because they had a focus in making sure you weren't learning just one thing. So that's how I learned power tools. That's how I learned, things that happen behind the stage, things that happen behind the camera. It just being a well-rounded person in the industry, it started there at a young age. And I think you guys have access to that, even doing a camp like this, which is awesome. At this young age, it's really, you'd be surprised the seeds that are gonna get planted from doing what you guys have just done. So that's where I started, and then I went to school to get my degree in acting in New York. And from there, I got into play development and was doing theater with some of my professors and classmates off Broadway, and now I work as an actor in film and TV, and kind of craving being back on stage. I'd love to do more of that here.
It's hard to get stage out of your soul.
Yeah, it doesn't escape you.
But it's just time consuming.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, that's where I'm at now, doing it all, trying to do it all.
Well, my story is, I guess, a little different. I'm born and raised in Chicago, and I'm probably going to kind of tell my age as well. But I always loved drawing. Art was always my thing, and my mom used to take a lot of pictures all the time, and I would, I loved it. And then upon wanting to figure out what I wanted to do, during that time, it was either you worked at the post office, the steel mill, or you joined the service. And I was like, no, I didn't want to do that. So I've always been in the industry of either fashion, music, or the arts. So I ended up working in retail, and I started doing fashion shows. Then I started putting on fashion shows. That was fun. And I would do it for politicians. And then from there, I started an organization that was a nonprofit organization to raise funds. And we did fashion shows, which was fun, working with designers and graphic artists. And then from there, I decided to go to school. I didn't want to be a starving artist, as they say, for marketing and management. And I started a company, it was Image Masters. I had to change it once I moved here, in which we was an agency in which we represented photographers, graphic artists, and that was my way of learning the business as well as accepting myself as a true artist, because I didn't think I was good enough, right? But you're always as good as you want to be, it's how you feel, your passion. And then from there, I ended up moving to Florida, and I changed my company to Image Masters International because it was taking Image Masters, and I went back to school. And I was going for graphic arts and photography and video, but my class, one teacher I had for video production, I was like, this is it, I love this. So once I, graduated, I rebranded my company again as a production company, and I love what I do. I love being behind the camera. That's my real passion. I'm a DP, cinematographer as well, and that's really, truly my passion. But I love to put together, tell stories, and visualize whatever some of these people write, the writers, these beautiful actors, and everyone else, makeup artists, everybody play a role. I've had to beg him for permits. But yeah, I love it. That's my story.
So when I was in middle school, I used to think I either wanted to be an archaeologist or a hitman. I ended up being neither of those. And looking back, it was probably because I loved Indiana Jones, and I loved James Bond. But fast forward a couple of years, I ended up at a prestigious university as a Japanese medieval history major. And if you want to know the one major you can go into and have no jobs afterwards, it is that one. So I quickly realized that and dropped out, and I started working on film production. Eventually, I ended up back in college. I went to the Savannah College of Art and Design, where I ultimately got my master's degree. And then 25 plus years later, I am still working in the film industry. So I got my start on a film called Dave with Jeff Caviezel, where I was the key set PA, and we moved up. I started working in production management, and then line producing, and that brought me to Tampa Bay, actually, because I was living in Savannah at the time, and I was asked, because a friend was working on a feature film called Sunlight Junior, W. Watson, Matt Dillon, in Clearwater, and they said, hey, would you be interested in coming and being the line producer on this, or sorry, the production manager on this? And I was like, sure, why not? So I moved from Savannah to Tampa, and that was in 2008, and all these years later, I'm now the film commissioner for Hillsborough County. I never dreamed I would be sitting in this chair, or the film commissioner. I thought I was really going to be a hitman someday. Probably glad I didn't know that. I still can, you never know. If anyone has a contract out there, if somebody you don't like, talk to me afterwards. I'm very cheap. But I love this industry. It is really a great industry. It's a family-based industry because you keep working with the same people over and over. And it's a lucrative industry. I think it's important for students to hear, and more importantly, parents to hear. This is an industry you should support your kids to go into. Here's some real facts for you. The median average wage for people working in film and digital media in the state of Florida is $105,000 a year. That is 56% higher than any other industry in the state of Florida. Now, obviously, median average, which means some people are making less, some people are making more, but that is an amazing statistic. So if you are looking at your kids and saying, what are they going to do after they graduate, film and digital media is the future.
No idea I was sitting next to the hitman. Would have chosen a different seat. And you can go into this business at any age. I actually was a high school teacher, and I thought I had a meaningless degree. I was a history teacher, but Japanese history specifically. So I was a history teacher, then I owned some insurance companies, and then I got into the acting world when I retired early at 51. I got into acting because I love being in front of people. I love people laughing at me, responding to me, looking at me, nodding their head like that. I thought, I want to do something fun. And acting to me is a chance to get up there and to be a character that you never thought you could be. And my impetus for getting into the stunt area was, I was always very athletic when I was young. Well, hopefully still am. Athletic, not young. And when I was young, I wanted to do acting, but my parents said, sports or acting? I said, sports. So when I got into acting, I thought, but I still want to be active. What can I do? And I saw all the people in the Mission Impossible films and the Jason Bourne films, and I said, those people have everyone looking at them while they're being blown up. That's cool. That's what I want to do. I want to do stunts. I want to do something physical. And when I looked around, where could I get trained in Florida to learn about stunts? There was no place. I got into the business after COVID, so only 4 years ago. And at that time, there was one place in Orlando, and it's gone now. So we are now the only place in Florida. Now, since then, someone has opened up in Miami. But you either have to go to Atlanta or Miami to learn stunts. And I think that's an absolute shame. We're also hoping to open up soon in Orlando, a second location, and we're possibly talking about Louisiana for a third as well. So we want to bring the fun to everyone. I finally talked my business partner into going down to 14 years old and or high school to join the academy. So thank you for that.
Clearwater, right? Is that where you're
The academy is in Clearwater, yes.
Okay,
Near
great.
the Clearwater Largo Airport, yes.
Please tell me you're never too old to learn stunts.
My bet says I'm a little too old to learn, but no, I go out there and train with them sometimes. I do an hour or two of training, but the 20, 30-year-olds, they'll go for 3 hours straight, falling off stairs, jumping off of stuff, and the wire work like Spider-Man, jumping up on stuff, they go forever. 1 or 2 hours.
He's got a great facility. We did a women in film open house there. My son came from LA, and they put him through the task, and he hasn't talked to me since. But it's a really great facility. Real quick commercial. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Women in Film has student memberships with $25 for the year. We also give out scholarships. We give out scholarships if you're a junior, going into your junior year, or going into your senior year for $500 a piece, and that money goes directly to you. And it's awarded on our Jingle Mingle activity that we do in Orlando, where we raise all our money to be able to give out our grants and our scholarships. So who's got another question? Oh,
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jordan Jackson. I'm with Hillsborough College in the Radio and Broadcast program. It's lovely to see all of you today. My question would be, what was one of the most challenging things you've overcome in your specific careers today?
Mine was out there, I'll tell you this, when you start working with a lot of famous people, you have to learn be involved with that when you're on set. I know it's neat to go up and say, can we get a picture? Can we do a selfie? Can we do this? Can we do this? But when you work with those people, you have to learn that that's not why they're there to be your best friend. Okay, they're there to work, it's a job. And there'll be a time that they might come up to you and talk, or they might say, what are you doing, or how you're doing, whatever it is. But you need to learn to take a step back, okay, and not get involved with them. Because if you do, unfortunately, most of the time, we have to let you go. So you want to really stay away from that, and that's the thing that's the hardest, was when I first started doing this. One of my feature films I worked on was with Michael J. Fox and Sean Penn. And to work with those two guys, and I was with them, and every single day, I either had lunch with Michael and dinner with Sean, okay, it was the opposite. And when I did that, I would wait for them to ask me questions. And then they would open up and then become friendlier and friendlier and friendlier. But when you're all done, you know that's a job, that's your job, and then you go away. So it's tough when you go on set, so when you become a PA and work somewhere, okay? Just sit back in the corner, do your job, all right? I know that's hard.
Probably one of the things that I didn't realize was a skill necessarily, or something that I exhibited until my assistant came to work for me. She graduated college recently from FSU. I met her on set. Her uncle was a writer-director, and he kind of forced her into interning for us. But in working with her, she would sit and observe and watch everything that I did, and she said, you know, you're really good at talking to people, but knowing how much to talk to people. And in makeup and hair, you start off the morning with them typically. You're the first person that they see. They spend a lot of time with you in your chair. You have to learn to be able to read people and understand when too much talking, not enough talking. Also being a well-rounded individual to be able to hold a conversation with somebody. All skills that I feel as generations progress, things that you have to work on because you're so used to texting everybody, we lose the art of actual communication. So that's probably one of the biggest things that I would say comes in handy in order to learn how to do this job effectively, because it's not always just about skill level with makeup and hair, it's also being able to get along and learn how to manage conversations with people and being able just to make it a comfortable environment for somebody.
Yeah, I would piggyback off of what Mo just mentioned. You know, when I got out of high school, I applied to a ton of different film schools, and I got into 0. So it was really, you know, this moment of like, okay, you know, this is my passion, this is what I'm spending all my time doing, you know, and just really not having that sense of like propulsion. Like I was almost waiting for somebody to give me a structure, you know, and I felt like film school was that structure. So when I didn't get in, it was almost like, well, now what do I do? And, you know, that was a really challenging moment, but I kind of used that as to say, okay, well, I just can't wait for that. I can't wait for somebody to tell me, this is exactly the path that you should take, this is exactly, you know, what you should do. Like, let me create that for myself. And so it became a very challenging moment, but then one that I could learn a lot from. And so, basically, ended up going to community college and taking a lot of courses that I didn't even really expect I would use in the future. So, you know, one of the classes I took was an interpersonal communications class. And basically, it was understanding relationships, understanding how to build relationships, understanding how relationships deteriorate, understanding how to present, how to speak. And so that course, I didn't really expect it to really help me in my career, but then, you know, as I started to develop, it just really was this class that I went back to over and over again. So you never really know what's going to happen, even if you end up in these challenging circumstances. And so, you know, I would say that was one thing for me that in the moment was really kind of heartbreaking, but then ended up becoming this really, you know, beautiful thing for growing and learning and learning.
For me, I guess my biggest challenge was that I had a forced hiatus in the middle of my career. I was in my 20s, I was in New York, I was a troupe member at a really wonderful off-Broadway theater in the West Village, living the life, you know, able to afford my rent. And all of a sudden the theater announced that they were going to be closing, and our contract was being terminated. And so then I was like, okay, so now how am I going to pay my rent? So of course, auditioning, when you're an actor, that's your job, really. Auditioning, you don't book most of what you hope that you're going to book. Which in and of itself is a challenge, because you have to pick yourself right up and go for the next one, not take it personally, and not be jealous of those people who did book it, because really, if you're honest with yourself, they should have booked it. Every time somebody books a role that you didn't get, you look at them and you're like, oh, yes, I understand why they got it, because they're them. And you need to start looking at people in a collaborative way, not in a competitive way. And so I got to a place where I was like, I better, like Sherry said, I don't want to be a starving artist. So I had just gotten out of a 2-year conservatory school, and I decided to go get my degree in teaching theater. And I left New York and I came back to Tampa, because this is my hometown. And I did just that, but what I also did was I got pregnant and married. So instead of going back to New York to resume the career that was off and running, I became a high school drama teacher, and I raised 2 kids, one of whom is currently majoring in Japanese studies in Japan. But fortunately, he's also getting a degree in global business and finance. So let's hope he'll have a job. And then my daughter, who is a filmmaker, just like you. Yeah, she went to film school, and it was when she was in film school that I was like, you know, that person is still in here. The person who, I missed acting, but I had to get over the fear that maybe I wasn't good anymore. Maybe too much time had passed. And I was living here in Tampa Bay, not New York. I had to go inactive as a union member for all those years, and so I didn't have an active union card anymore, and I was really scared, but just something in my soul was like, you have to try. So I went and I auditioned for a theater festival that they were doing a multitude of one-act plays, and I thought, well, let me just see if I can do this one, you know? And I ended up booking 4 of the plays in the festival, and then I was like, oh my God, I have to memorize lines, and what am I doing? And anyway, it really only just took a minute for me to remember that this is who I am. I'm a storyteller, and I love it. And then the newest challenge was, how do people get on TV nowadays? Because you have to self-tape. Raise your hand if you've ever had a self-tape, or you know what a self-tape is. Yes, okay. So suddenly, you're no longer going into casting offices, and it's not like theater where you can just decide what you want to audition for and just sign up and go. TV and film, you have to be requested to audition. And it used to be that you would go to the casting director's office, but now it's self-taping. You have to learn how to work the camera. So even if you're an actor, you need to understand light balance. You need to understand framing. You need to understand lighting, because if you don't light yourself, or sound, if you don't mic yourself correctly, your audition's gonna tank. So you really do need to know how to work everything. And now, I'm a teacher of it. I just dove in and learned every single thing that I could about sound and lighting and taping and framing and how to put together a really great audition. And so now I'm an audition coach as well as a professional actor. So you just have to get over the fear, honestly. Like, any time that you feel a little bit scared about something, that's your gut telling you to do it. And I don't mean jumping off of a building or anything like that. I mean like when you're just like, I really want to do this thespian competition, but I'm so scared to do it. Do it. That's your gut telling you to do it, okay? And you'll become much braver and much better in the process.
Sorry. My challenge is very similar to a lot of the undertones of what everyone has shared so far, and you guys are just starting out. So you might not even have experienced this yet, but you can anticipate it and try and get ahead of it, which is finding your way in this career. And if this is something you think you want to stick with, it can be a very nuanced journey where, I started thinking, I'm an actor, I want to be an actor, and then you start meeting people who are influencing the direction of your career and your dreams. These could be teachers and professors, it could be your parents, it could be an acting coach or a mentor that you pick up along the way, and everybody's in your ear telling you what to expect or how it might be or how it's going to be. And for me, I started questioning after college because I had that structure that you're talking about. It did give me that support for those 4 years. And then afterward, it's like, oh God, what's my path? What's my way in? Is it gonna be nailing that one audition that just opens every door for me? Is it gonna, and just finding that along the way and trusting that there is a path. You do have your own path. It's gonna look very different from everybody that's around you doing the same thing, and just trusting like your path will show itself along the way as long as you keep showing up for your dreams. So I would say that's a very tricky thing to navigate in the career, but just to stay with it. Your story is going to be very, very unique.
I would say what I do, and I love doing events. Again, my production company, we do a lot of festivals, food festivals, wine and food festivals, jazz festivals, music festivals, boxing events, and you try to be as prepared as you can be. And I always prepare myself for there's going to be a problem. It just happens, right? And you just don't know exactly what that is. But it's how you take care of the problem, how you prepare, how the resolution. You don't panic. And what comes to mind as a particular story, I was in Las Vegas for the International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame and the WBC Women's Summit. And I have to fly stuff because I'm on a budget, right? There's so much that they can afford as far as my budget and material, equipment. So I have equipment there, I have a production assistant. My camera person ended up not being able to come, but that was okay. Phones does a lot, so I have my production assistant doing behind the scenes. But I'm prepared, right? I have 2 cameras, one on a tripod, doing, videos of interviews, and I'm Roman. I'm taking care of the entire event, the final event. And I'm taking care of everything, and everything is all going smooth. And right at the end, and I have to say this, just the Lord just always looking out. Right at the end, where I'm doing a group shot of all these women boxers, it was for a female boxer, all of them on stage, getting them, it's always important to get the action, you don't want to just pose, so we were having fun, getting the picture, got the picture, wanted to kind of get a couple more, and my camera just stopped, right? The lens got stuck. So I can't panic, even though inside I'm panicking, you know what I mean? But it was the end of that aspect of it. So now people are moseying to the lobby where, more pictures and things are taken, and then where I have to take the interview. So I had to pivot because what initially was going to happen was my associate producer was going to be behind the camera trainer, who just hit the record, and everything is set, the lights are set. She was a little nervous, right? but she was good. And I was just gonna go out into the other areas of where people are roaming and getting pictures, you know, it's a festive time. So I had to pivot, because my camera now, I don't have time to troubleshoot, right? So I'm now doing the filming, the interviews, and I tell her, just go with your cell phone, send people back to me and get some pictures, right? So it worked out. But if I had panicked, because things happen, you just never know. It's just how you pivot, how you orchestrate it, you know, you don't want your client to be like, you know, what's the problem, you know, in this, you know, just keep that in mind. Things do happen. You can plan, and sometimes things happen because that's the nature of this business, especially in my business, because I'm bringing equipment, I got cameras, I got lens, I got lights, you know, and you just never know. So just keep that in mind, you know, don't panic. There's always a solution, and stay calm, and just make it happen.
Privileged enough to be in a position where I've had to hire and fire a lot of people over the course of my career. And film is a very small industry, just for some perspective. There's about 500,000 people that work in film crews in the United States. That's the entire United States. You add in actors, sales, distribution, marketing, it starts creeping up closer to 2.5 million people in total in the United States. There's more people that live in the Tampa Bay area than work in film and digital media in the entire United States. So think about that for a second. So this is an industry where you really need to be hungry and present to win. You really have to want it. And I'm looking out at the audience right now, and I'm really relieved to see that I don't see any cell phones. No one's sitting there playing Brawl Stars, they're not watching YouTube. And that is actually getting rarer and rarer these days when you go on film sets, particularly with some younger crew, not to be ageist. But a lot of times I see people, and instead of paying attention to what's going on set, looking around, taking advantage of the fact that they're working with really experienced people, being able to sit there and watch actors at the top of their game and learning from what's going on, they're on their cell phone. And that is really unfortunate. So if I can make this brief, be present. If this is something you really want to do and you get the opportunity to be on a film set, put your cell phone away. Watch what's going on. One, you're going to learn to anticipate what's needed, but you're also going to learn a lot just by watching experienced crews working around you. And even if you don't go into film, that's something to apply to any job you might go into. Be present, be focused. What's on your cell phone is not important. What is in front of you is. So, you know, really focus on it. If this is something you want to do, learn as much as you can from the people around you. Every opportunity you have is another opportunity to advance your career. And you're really going to advance your career by being present and watching other people. That's how you learn. It's a mentorship-based industry. So put your cell phones down. That's what I'm saying.
If you don't mind, I'd like to add to that I've seen people get kicked off the set because their cell phone made a ding sound when we were shooting, and it is not pretty to see that happen. I leave my cell phone in my trailer. I don't take it to set, but yeah, like if you don't need it when you're on set, just leave it back at camp. You know, like don't take it with you, because it's really embarrassing. Just one thing. Not for me, thank God, but for others.
So I guess my biggest thing was I produced a feature film. I've only done one, and at the time that I produced it, when you finish producing film, usually what you do is you go to a big, beautiful theater like this and you show it off for your cast and crew, right? Your friends and family. So I did that for my film, and at the end of the film, everyone told me it was the greatest film they'd ever seen, greatest thing since Ben Hur. This is an amazing film. Everybody loved it. Well, then I went and put the film into some other theaters. Very first theater I went to, my wife and I sat in the back of the theater, and right before the film started, I went up, I said, hey, I'm the filmmaker, I wrote this, I'm in the movie, can't wait to talk to everyone afterwards, gonna do a Q&A. Lights go down, everybody, oh, that's great, can't wait. Lights go down. 10, 15 minutes into the film, first couple stands up and walks out. 10, 15 minutes later, another couple stands up and walks out. Lights come on at the end of the film, There were probably 25 people to start with. There were about 3 or 4 people left in the theater. That is really, really, really difficult to deal with. I turned to my wife and I said, they hate me. They hate my film. They hated everything about it. There was no Q&A afterwards. The other 3 people just left, or people, whatever. So I immediately went out. I called the 2 main stars in the film. I called Danny. He didn't answer. I called Musetta. She didn't answer. Went to dinner with my wife, just crying into my food. Finally, Musetta calls me, and I said, Musetta, they hate me. They hate me. Musetta said, what happened? I told her the story. She said, that's it? I said, what do you mean that's it? They all walked out. She said, Dave, do you know the names people have called me after films? She said, that is nothing. Toughen up. That's my advice to you guys. Get tough. Get tough. Because you're going to be, I don't care how fantastic a job you do in a film, behind the scenes, whatever job it is that you're doing in this industry, it is art, and people are going to love you, but people are going to hate you as well. And you have to realize that you're going to have to accept the hate if you want the love.
I'd like to piggyback off her title as well, because breaking into the film industry, I had to network, right? And wear a lot of hats. You know, I'm a cinematographer, I'm a DP, I'm a photographer. Well, I had to become a production assistant. I had to do lunch, get lunches, but I was on set. And I met people on set. They, like you were saying, you learn. You learn from the people that are doing the job and ask questions and humble yourself and do your research. You know, you talk to someone who may be a first AC or a first director, second director, find out, Google it, do your homework and really learn what those positions are and see what would, interest you or whatever you would like to work in. But it's so important to be present, as he said, stay focused and be present.
All right, who's got another question? Over here? While I'm walking back, I want to tell you there are 3 vocab words. This is the teacher inside me that you need to learn in this industry. They talked about it. One is dependability. The other one is reliability. And the third one is responsibility. Be dependable, be reliable, okay? You will work very well with people if you do those things. I showed up here an hour earlier than I was supposed to be because I'm dependable, and I'm reliable, and I'm responsible. And I've learned that. And when we're all done and we cut wrap, I stay around to make sure that everything's put away. And that's where you're found. People see that in you. And they want you around them because you're going to make them look good.
Hi. First I want to apologize. I was on my phone. I was writing a question, actually.
You're fired right now. You're
The hitman.
So anyways, I'm sorry, it's a long question, but I feel like it's a little bit relevant. So I'm new in acting. I started maybe 3 months ago, and I've been told by everyone and myself that I shouldn't think on going into these big schools like FSU with their conservative acting programs because it doesn't make money, or I feel like I have this advantage because I wasn't taught. And I only have 1 year left before I have to choose. I'm a senior, so I could go to a school where I'm, going to be safe. I could get into marketing and then maybe do acting on the side, maybe double major. But then I'm also thinking that there's a part of me that wants to do FSU. It's great. It's also great. I can go to other schools and they can have great programs, but something in me just wants to do that. So my question is, when you have to make that decision, and sometimes if you're not able to do that clear path that you're talking about, you have to pivot. How are you able to focus on your craft and balance that other job, and how much of a leap you should take when it comes to those things?
Do you mind if I take this?
Well, let me do mine first, then we'll go ahead. I have 418 ex-students of mine from 1972 to 2004 that are in this industry full-time. 8 of those people have Emmys. Most of them never went to college. Well, that's my cell phone. Go ahead.
You're fired. Off the set. So to answer your question, I know you said you're a senior, you've got a lot going on right now. I remember my daughter went through this same thing because she wanted to go to film school. If you have it in your heart to act, number one, apply to all of the schools that you're interested in. And number two, if you don't get into any of them, find another way, because that's what you want to do. It's who you believe you are. You have to follow your dream. And so if you don't get into the theater program, but let's just say you get into that school, okay? You get into that school under another major, you can take classes. You can take as your electives, they will allow you to take classes in theater. FSU is a fantastic film school. They will allow you to volunteer even if you want to work on a film set. So you'll find a way. Do not get into your head about having to have this set path. Like, I must have acknowledgement by this college that they believe in me in order to do this thing. No, you can do it your way, and you can kind of skate in to some of those classes as well, and then maybe switch your major later once you're already there. Okay, so there's always a way. Just don't give up.
If I can chime in here too, I think, one thing that was really big for me is recognizing it's about the skills, not the title. It's really about what you learn along the way. It's whether you go into marketing or whether you're going into acting school, there are certain skills that you're going to develop during your time there. So really focus in on what those skills are and how you're developing and how things are changing. And even just documenting it for yourself, whether it's like keeping a journal or just kind of seeing the way that you're progressing, I think that's a way that you can really build a lot of momentum for yourself. You can see, wow, look, this is where I started and this is where I am now. And so, maybe you go into marketing, maybe you go into acting, but either way, you're gonna learn a lot. And so, I'd say focus in on those skills and really try to see what you're learning as you're learning.
The financial part about the acting thing that you mentioned, making money, the reality is it's very rare that people make a fully sustaining career just on being an actor. And I don't think that has to be so dream crushing. That's reality. Like, that's why it's important to be diverse in your interest in this business. I started producing 6 years ago, and my producing work sustains my acting career. It allows me to continue doing that when the opportunities show up for me. And it's okay. So I think just be realistic with yourself about the financial part of it and stay open to all of the other avenues that you can make a very decent living being in the film and TV business. Don't let that discourage you.
If you ever get a chance to look at a call sheet, you will see that there are so many jobs. There are so many different jobs in this industry. And yes, just like Melissa said, you can have many lanes within the industry and make a living doing it. And then you'll find, like, the more that you do, the more you gravitate towards a certain thing, and the more people begin to ask you to do that thing or write for you because they want you as a character. You meet people, you put yourself out there, you do as much as you can, especially if you're young like you, just get started, And yeah, like you can have a sustainable career in this industry. But yeah, I guess you probably shouldn't just rely on always doing the exact same thing over and over again. That makes sense.
Something that I believe, I want to be in those 10%.
Yeah, then do it.
Audition for more schools, like Tracy said. Don't limit yourself. I mean, I have to say, where you decide to go to college, not that going to college is everything, but where you decide to go to college will change the rest of your life. Your whole life will take an entirely different turn, and then everything that happens to you after that will be because of that decision. And a lot of it is out of your control, the results of your auditions, etc. But the part that's in your control is how wide a net you've cast for yourself. So 10, 20 schools, whatever, like if you need help with the application fees, Women in Film and Television $500 grant. I'm the recipient of 2 grants from Women in Film and Television. Find a way, don't let money be the thing that stops you. Just like cast a very wide net for yourself, because will change the rest of your life.
If you need coaching on your auditions, that's what I do. And it's interesting because how many of you have heard that to have a career in acting is really, really hard and almost impossible, okay? Yeah, it isn't. And I'm gonna tell you why. There are a lot of people who say they wanna be an actor. A lot, especially if you go out to LA like everybody. I'm an actor and a waiter, I'm an actor, I'm an actor, I'm an actor. Very, very few of them are dedicated, or get up every day, put themselves on tape even if they don't have an audition, train, work just to make money to train. Very few of us are actually dedicated to it on a daily basis, and it is not hard when you are that person. When you're the person who isn't giving up, when you're the person who's not putting it on the back burner, who's saying, well, I do want to go to another class, but I just haven't booked anything and I'm tired of classes. Yeah, there's a ton of those people out there in the acting industry, and guess what? They don't work that much, and it is probably hard for them. But it isn't hard for those of us who are dedicated and get up every day and do the actions that we need to be successful without regard to, I guess, the acknowledgement necessarily of booking the job or getting into the school. You just keep going and you just work hard and you'll rise to the top.
Does anyone have a specific question to one of our panelists? I can do one.
Does any of the panelists, do you guys have opportunities for high school interns?
Yes, I do.
That's a really hard one, unfortunately, because a lot of the laws that are out there and the rules that we have. I tried to establish a program with Women in Film, with high schools, and there's an insurance issue, there's a lot of things that are involved with that, which is unfortunate. But I will tell you this, before we wrap up, that if any of you would like a member of Women in Film to come to your high school to be a guest speaker or spend a day, let me know. You can email me at Women in Film, info, womeninfilmflorida.org, and let me have a request, and we'll see if we can make it work for you.
So can we do one more question to this side?
This side over here?
Yeah, so raise your hands, guys. Who got a question?
I have a question for, I'm sorry for getting involved in the end. For hair and makeup, did you ever go to any cosmetics camps and did you think that you were going to be doing makeup for specifically acting or just in general?
So I started off with the corporate career, because everybody tells you need to go out and get a job. So I got a job in sales and marketing. I did really well at it. And then finally, I realized I wasn't getting any younger. It's not really what I wanted to do, even though I was good at it. I switched. I went to cosmetology school at 30 and decided to change careers. Everybody thought I was crazy. And then I just took classes, every class I could possibly take. And when I first started out, I was doing weddings, and then weddings turned into fashion, and then fashion turned into film. I got a random email one day asking me to participate in a 48-hour film challenge in Jacksonville, and I lived here. And I responded and I said, well, I don't live there, but if you have a place for me to stay, I'll come up there. And that's how that started. I went there, did it, decided that was insane, because 48 hours to make a film, like if I could get through that, I could get through any type of film challenge. And then it just went from there, and it was just nonstop after that. And when film came here, and we started to do a lot of the Lifetime and Hallmark films, which is the majority of what I do, it's just been a great opportunity for me just to be able to work in that genre, and that also brought me into feature films as well, and I've been lucky to work with a lot of the people on this panel with me too. So I would say that, don't think that if you start in one area that you're stuck with that, because you can always change, and what you learned in that first initial job will help you in learning to grow your business and do other things.
Practice. You're in a miracle and acting. Do your own, write your own little skit. Practice. I learned that from a famous cinematographer who asked the question. He said, shoot. Don't wait on the film. You get out there and do what you like to do, even if it's not, in a big time theater like this, but that's practicing.
Can I ask one favor of all of you? Would it be okay if we shared your email addresses? Because I know we have a lot more questions than we had time today, but can we give these kids an opportunity to reach out to you if they have further questions?
And social media too, we can give you our Instagrams.
Perfect. Then I want to thank all of you for coming. Let's all thank everybody. We will make sure to send that out. Also, we recorded the session, so if you want the opportunity to go back and watch that, maybe you didn't catch every point, some of those great advice bits like put your cell phones down, be present, be accountable. We will make that available on our YouTube channel as well. So any parting words from anybody before we turn you loose?
I have a bin of plays in the back of my car, and it just dawned on me that some people in this room might want to look through them. So are we limited with our time in the lobby?
We'll have to move with purpose.
Okay. All right, well, I don't know if we can
see.
stay in touch, but I might go grab that.
Go grab the
take a
bin.
look. Like a lot of the classic plays that have been out, since the 80s and 90s, especially for women, young ladies. But I have some really good ones.
We've also got Hillsborough Community Colleges out there, so they have a program that might be of interest to some of you looking for opportunities post-high school. I don't know if University of Tampa was able to show up, but UT also has a great film program, of course SCAD does, and a lot of other colleges as well. So thank you so much again for coming out and for supporting. Thank you.
You are always welcome to reach out to me. I will be happy to sit down and have coffee or answer any questions in person. It's Film Tampa Bay. We can also put you guys in touch with some internships, a little harder for high school students who asked that question. But we're absolutely happy to connect people. And there's film challenges throughout the year, so don't wait for the next film camp. Though I encourage you to keep doing this if this is what you're interested in. But there's film challenges. Follow us on social media. You can find all that information.